All right, let's just dive right in. We all talk about student engagement, right? It's one of those terms that gets thrown around all the time in education. But what does it actually mean? And maybe more importantly, how do we get it right? Because it turns out, while pretty much everyone agrees it's crucial, getting a real handle on it, well, it's a bit of a puzzle.
And the stakes here are incredibly high. I mean, look at this number. A recent study shows that a massive 93% of educators believe student engagement is a critical, absolutely essential way to understand how well students are doing overall. That's basically everyone. So engagement isn't just some nice to have, it's seen as fundamental to learning itself.
But here's where that puzzle starts to get really tricky. While almost everyone agrees it's vital, there's a huge disconnect in what people think it actually looks like. I mean, this slide right here says it all. You've got 72% of teachers, the folks on the ground, saying engagement is seeing kids ask thoughtful questions. But for superintendents, the #1 indicator is good performance on tests. They're looking for totally different things. It's like they're not even speaking the same language.
So that brings us right to the heart of it, doesn't it? What are we really talking about when we say engagement? And why is it such a powerful piece of the student's success story?
Okay, first things first. Real engagement, true engagement, is not just about kids sitting quietly and paying attention. It's so much deeper, so much more complex than that. It's about their connection to the whole idea of school.
Here's how the academic world breaks it down. It's the quality of a student's connection to everything that makes up the school experience. You know, the people, the activities, the goals, the values. It's about how involved they are, not just in one little task, but in the whole shebang.
And to make this a little more concrete, researchers usually split it into 3 key dimensions. So first, you've got behavioral engagement. Pretty straightforward. Are students following the rules? Are they participating? Then you have emotional engagement. Do they feel interested? Do they feel like they belong? Are they actually happy to be there? And finally, and this is the big one, cognitive engagement. This is all about that deep mental investment, that genuine drive to really master the material.
And here's why this all matters so much. When all 3 of those dimensions are firing on all cylinders, the results are, well, they're incredible. You see higher achievement, you see better student well-being, and you even see lower dropout rates. So this isn't just about making school a little more fun. We're literally talking about changing lives.
Okay, so if we know what it is and we know why it's so important, how do we actually do it? Let's open up the playbook and look at a couple of powerful strategies that really work. So one of the real heavy hitters here is project-based learning, or PBL. The secret sauce is giving students a real-world problem to sink their teeth into. You start with a hook that really grabs them. Then they explore the concepts, maybe talk to some experts, and it all leads to them building a solution they actually care about, and then presenting it to a real audience. This whole process, it just transforms them from being passive listeners into active creators.
Another hugely popular strategy is something called gamification. You've probably heard of it. This is all about taking the elements that make video games so incredibly addictive, things like points and badges and leaderboards, and just applying them to the classroom to get kids more motivated and involved.
But, and this is a big but, it's not a magic bullet. The research here is pretty nuanced. On one hand, yeah, gamification is fantastic for boosting motivation and getting kids to participate. But on the other hand, the studies show it doesn't automatically lead to better test scores. Just being motivated isn't the same as actually mastering the content. So it's a great tool for sure, but you have to use it thoughtfully.
And here's a perfect example of how these ideas can come to life. An activity like a Shark Tank pitch, it just hits all the right notes. It's project-based, you can gamify it, and it really forces students to think on their feet, anticipate tough questions, and learn how to persuade an audience. It's basically engagement in action.
Now, for all this talk about cool strategies and clever tools, the research again and again circles back to one simple, incredibly powerful truth, and that is that the human connection is everything.
Seriously, if there is one key takeaway from all the source material we looked at, it's this right here. Across study after study, the single most important factor for student engagement is the quality of their relationships with their teachers and with each other.
But you can see it right here in the data. This chart shows a crystal clear, direct link between how strong teacher-student relationships are and how engaged students are on both a cognitive and behavioral level. And look, that effect is especially powerful in middle schools, which, as we all know, is such a critical time for so many kids. When students feel like their teachers actually see them and support them, they invest more in their own learning. It's that simple.
So the real goal here isn't just to have one or two super engaging classrooms. It's to build an entire school culture on a foundation of safety and care and cooperation. An environment where every single student feels like they belong and that their voice actually matters.
Of course, saying that is one thing, but actually building that culture? That's not easy. And the challenges have only gotten bigger, especially as so many learning environments have shifted online.
I mean, listen to this quote from an experienced virtual teacher. It just gets right to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? That lack of daily, face-to-face interaction makes building those all-important relationships incredibly hard. There's just a human element that's really tough to replicate through a screen. And the hurdles are really specific. It's not just the difficulty of building those personal connections. Teachers also lose the ability to read all those subtle, nonverbal cues. And then on top of all that, it can be a real struggle just to get a good line of communication going with parents and guardians. And this all leads to another massive disconnect, this time in perception. Just take a look at this chart. You've got 63% of students saying, "Yeah, I feel highly engaged," but only 45% of their teachers agree. That is a huge gap. It tells us that what a student feels as engagement and what a teacher observes as engagement can be two completely different things.
So, putting all these pieces of the puzzle together, what does the path forward actually look like? How do we build a true culture of engagement that actually works for everybody?
I think the most important thing to get our heads around is that there's no magic bullet. There's no one simple trick or a single strategy that's going to solve this. Real, lasting engagement isn't about one activity or some cool new app.
It has to be a systemic approach. It all starts with building a positive and safe school-wide culture. Then, within that culture, you absolutely have to prioritize and nurture strong relationships. And finally, you equip teachers with a whole toolbox of strategies, from PBL to gamification, so they can meet the diverse needs of all their students.
And that leaves us with a final question to think about. As our classrooms and technology keep evolving, the core challenge really stays the same. How do we make sure our strategies go beyond just grabbing a student's attention for a moment and instead create experiences that truly engage their heart and their mind? That's the puzzle we all need to keep working on.